Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to talk about the Stamina Nightblade bow gank build. Now, I want you to understand that there is quite a lot of good possibilities in terms of gear and skills. So I do have a written guide on my website. I will put a link into the description so you can check out there what else, like what other gear you can use, because this is just one setup, which I prefer the most, but we'll get into that in a second. If we look at our stats on the bow bar, if you're in stealth, I am a Kashid. If I use a pot, we have like 1.6k stamina recovery, which is very nice. A lot of stamina, not that much health, but it doesn't really matter, and decent magicka. The crit resistance is also pretty nice. Now I'm using the Warrior Mundus Stone just to get as much damage as possible. I recommend being a vampire because Dark Stalker, this is very important. Ignore the movement speed penalty while in crouch, so you can move around faster in crouch, and then it also takes less time to get into stealth. You also get damage reduction on low health and more stamina recovery. So I really recommend being a vampire. In terms of race, Kashid or a Wood Elf are the best choices, simply because both of those races have stealthy, so you do 10% more damage out of stealth. Now Kashid gets more crit, however it's not really needed because out of stealth we do crit anyway, and we have Shadowy Disguise, which also guarantees us a crit. So a Wood Elf overall would be the slightly better choice, but there's not a huge difference. Like, you get 6% extra stamina on a Wood Elf, you don't get that on a Kashid, but you get 8% crit. Then you have 10% stamina recovery on a Kashid, and you get like 21% stamina recovery on a Wood Elf. That's the only differences. At the end of the video I will also show you combos, so you know how you actually can kill enemies pretty easily. It will take practice, believe me, it's not that easy. Now in terms of gear, so I'm currently using Morak Tong combined with Marksman. As you can see, Marksman gives us 5% cost reduction on all our skills, even on other, like on non-bow skills, and you get 8% more damage against players, which is nice. Then Morak Tong, when we deal direct damage, you cause the enemy to take 10% more damage from all poison damage abilities. That's also pretty nice. We are using Lethal Arrow and Poison Injection mostly to kill our enemies. That's why I say it's pretty neat. Just an information, as you know, like you see, when you deal direct damage, you cause the enemy to take 10% more damage. Means your first poison hit will not get increased damage, but your second will. Just so you know. The second choice, instead of Morak Tong, you also could use Hawkeye. I'm not sure if I actually have... yeah, this here. See, it reduces the cost and increases damage of your bow abilities by 5%. And there, you even have the extra damage on your first hit. But overall, I prefer this setup because I just get better stamina recovery, which is nice. I mean, you can run this both in no CP and CP Cyrodiil. Doesn't matter, you will have enough sustain. Definitely enough damage. I use Infused on the big pieces and Impenetrable on the small pieces. All stamina enchants because you want to get as much damage as possible. You shouldn't get into direct combat anyway, so you don't really need a lot of health. Now there is... you can either use Dummy House, you get Magicka, stamina. You could use Krag to get some more penetration instead of the Dummy House. 1.4k physical penetration, which is also important. Or you also could run Belly Breath to get more weapon damage. Only a 1 piece though. As you can see, I only use marksman on the front bar, on my bow bar, and I have a maelstrom. Like you can run a maelstrom master or a random two-hander. Now, what you also could do is run Morak Tong, because there is Morak Tong two-hander and Morak Tong bow. But there you cannot find marksman two-handers, because marksman is a pure bow set, same with Hawkeye, so there is no meaty weapons for those. Morak Tong there is. Another choice would be just use 3 Morak Tong here, 2 Morak Tong here, and then 5 marksmen. So you could use a maelstrom or a master bow and two-hander. That's another option you have. So now, should you be using poisons or not? It kind of depends. They're actually pretty nice, but they're also very expensive. So I'm just running poison damage enchantment, which is also good. I do currently have a sharpened weapon, because it gives you physical penetration. Now, in the next update, Clockwork City, we will probably change to Nirnhound, because there will be the transmutation system, so we actually can change weapons to whatever trait we want, and then Nirnhound will most likely be the better choice. But at the moment, you cannot get Marksman, Morak Tong, or like Hawkeye weapons in Nirnhound. That's very important. So for now, sharpened is the best choice. All weapon damage glyphs, obviously, on the jewelry. I think that's more or less it. You can run 7 medium or 6 medium, 1 heavy, for example, to get a little bit more max resources because of the undaunted passives, if you want to. But it's not that big of a deal. Christ, this is not activated. Anyway, in terms of champion points, just really quickly, they will also be on my website, so you can go check there. I like having a few points into Befooled, so enemies can't heal back up. Usually they die anyway, right away, if you're fast enough, but just in case. Mastered Arms is also important because our hardest hitting ability is Lethal Arrow, and it's a direct damage attack. I also like having some on Shattering Blows just to increase damage against shields. And then here, 43, 61 and 53. You want to have physical penetration here because you don't have a lot already. Like you get 4.1k from this and another 2.7k from your bow, and that's more or less it. Unless you have piercing mark on your enemy, but then he knows there is somebody around. But we will get into that in a second. Here I split it like this. That's basically it. Now you might wonder why I don't put like enough points here for Unchained. You see, they kinda adjusted this passive a little bit. It only increases the cost. Well, the cost of your next stamina ability used within 5 seconds is reduced by 80%. It used to be like all your abilities are reduced by 80% for 5 seconds. So I don't think this is really that useful anymore, and we can spread our champion points a little bit better this way. And we have enough sustain anyway. Skills. So on your two-hander bar, it's more or less set. Rally, really nice, like heal over time and the burst heal. Relentless focus, gives you more stamina recovery, gives you more damage, so it's basically a must-have. It also gives you a spectral bow after 5 light or heavy attacks. Shadowy image, this is purely a defensive skill, which will take you a lot of time to master. Like even for me it's difficult. If you want to get away from enemies, you need to know how to kite them. And when they get close to you, you need to place a shadow image. Try run away around the corner or whatever, and then use this again, and you get teleported back. And most enemies will not know where you went. Trust me. Until they realize you went back to your shadow image, you're already long gone. Piercing Mark. Now I like to have this because there is a lot of other Nightblades around. So when this is on them, they cannot cloak anymore. So they're screwed. Vigor is just simply here to give us a heal. Now if you never engage into melee combat, which you shouldn't, or you never get into tricky situations, then you don't necessarily need this even on your bar, because this will be enough. Barrier is simply here to give us some protection in case we get damaged. It's a huge shield, and it's just like it will take the enemy a few hits to get through it. Now our main bar. So we have poison ejection. This is really strong damage or time effect, and the less health the enemy has, the more damage it does. And trust me, after you use the lethal arrow on him, he will not have a lot of health anymore. Now we have Shadowy Disguise. This is a very important ability. You see, your next attack within 3 seconds will always be a critical strike. And you also get invisible, obviously, for your enemies. Then lethal arrow, this is our main damage skill. Now when we are fully buffed, you see it's 18.6k poison damage, plus then another 10% from Morak Tongue, etc. It also places major defile on the enemy, reducing their healing received. Radiant Mage Light. Now we use this to get the Empower, Might of the Guild. You see, now it's 15.5. Then I use this and it's 17.8. So it gives us a 20% damage. Draining Shot. This is simple here to actually, if we get into close combat, to get the enemy away from us. Same with the Ballista. This is really strong. Like if you really get into kind of a tricky situation close to an enemy, you poison ejection him up, Ballista, Draining Shot. And either he will die or you will have enough time to actually get away. Because like those two abilities with this deal so much damage, he will be busy trying to survive. But then again, it's also, you need to learn how to correctly use those combos. It's not easy. You're not gonna be good at this in like a day. It will take a week or even several weeks to actually get good, to know how to use your Nightblade properly. Now just to quickly explain what else you can do. So in terms of, like at the moment, I'm using this one. If you're purely ranged, this one will be the best to use. However, if you feel that you need to use Cloak a lot, I actually recommend using the triple stat one. So you see, we have 15k Magicka, 21k health, and 33.7k stamina. Why is it nice to have so much Magicka? Again, it's utility. You can cloak so many times. It's really nice. You can use Radiant Mage Light and all that stuff. So it's actually nice. But in the end, it's up to you to decide whether you want to use it. Then I use those potions. They give me CC immunity, speed buff, and they give me stamina. You also can use the normal weapon power pots to get also more crit rating, but like I said, out of stealth you crit anyway, so no point. And I like the extra movement speed I get from this. We don't need the weapon damage buff because we have Rally. We get that from Rally. In terms of combos, I will show you gameplay in a second, but I just want you to understand. You always need to make sure to have like Rally up, Relentless Focus. Those two buffs, this lasts 20 seconds, this 33 seconds. So it's a long lasting buff. Then we have the shorter ones, Radiant Mage Light. This is only 5 seconds. And Shadow Disguise only lasts 3 seconds. So before you use Lethal Arrow, you need to use Radiant Mage Light. Then shoot the Lethal Arrow. Best is twice. And then Shadowy Disguise, Poison Ejection. Or twice Lethal Arrow, Poison Ejection, Shadowy Disguise. Lethal arrow has a very long travel distance. Just let me actually go to target dummy. Now you see this has a 35 meter range in Cyrodiil. It's another 8 meters extra. Like all abilities that have a longer range, I think then 28 meters. I think it is 28, yeah. Get another 8 meters in Cyrodiil. This has, like here, now we're not in Cyrodiil, but whatever, 28 meters, 35 meters, right? And the further you're away from your enemies, the more damage you do because of long shots. Just to show you, like, the travel distance, you see it's very slow. So when I use this and then poison injection actually hits before lethal arrow impacts, as you could have seen. Unless we use 2 of those, then the first lethal arrow obviously hits first, but that's something that you need to understand. Now, like I said, when you're in stealth, you need to use Radiant Mage Light, then this twice, or on Cloak. So both your 2 hits will actually crit. You can't use Cloak first and then use this twice, because this only lasts 3 seconds. And you see, when I use this, then I shoot. The cloak is actually gone before lethal arrow hits the enemy. Something that you need to understand. That's why we always buff up like this, then use the radiant, 2 shots, and then cloak. Then you can still poison injection. So the first hit out of cloak gets empowered with Radiant Mage Light. Out of stealth. And then the second hit, you just use cloak, and it also will guarantee you a crit, because like half a second before it impacts, you use this ability, and then it will critical strike, and then you can still shoot the poison injection. What targets should you kill? You should kill light armor or medium armor targets. People that are on sieges and all other kind of stuff, that don't have a lot of time to react. Don't attack heavy armor targets. They most likely are not going to die. So it's very important, always look at the health of the enemy. Does he have over 22, 23k? Then he might wear heavy armor. If it's below, it's very likely that he's wearing light or medium armor, and those targets you want to hit. And you can also observe whether those people actually pay attention to what's going on, or are they just standing around, are just light attacking. Always go for the weak enemies first. Otherwise, you're not gonna really succeed hunting down. As you can see here, like I'm taking my time. Like I'm just waiting for the right target. If the enemy has too much health, I'm not even gonna bother trying to kill him. Sure, it might still work, but it's just easier picking enemies off that have around like 20 to 22k health. And as you can see, I'm moving around very fast because of the Dark Stalker passive from Vampire, plus I'm using speed potions. So that really allows me to maneuver very easily around. So it's actually very hard for the enemies to catch me. Also especially because I can use Shadow Cloak a lot before I really run out of magicka. On my website I will put the ingredients into the written guide for the build, so you actually know how to craft those potions, because it's very essential to the build that it works. You also could use magicka potions if you think, oh, I have enough stamina, so maybe I want to have a magicka potion ready in case I run out of cloak. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep my distance at all times, so I'm never really getting into a dangerous situation. That's basically it. Please don't forget to subscribe. I will definitely put more of those videos out for each update, and obviously also other builds, and you can find all kind of stuff on my website. Till then, if you have any questions, ask me in the comment section below. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.